All right, let me make sure we are up before we do this unnecessarily and then have to redo it after you're out of the hospital.
Oh, I have an idea. Have you ever done the basketball tennis ball trick?
I don't know what that means. Where I try to dunk with the basketball with a tennis ball? What?
No, it's if you put a tennis ball resting on top of the basketball so that they're making contact, and then you drop it. When they hit the ground, the energy from the basketball will transition most of it into the tennis ball, and the tennis ball like rockets up into the air.
All right, Kevin. Let's see.
Let's see
your foolishness. If you don't, kids, don't try this at home. Uh-oh, what is he gonna do with it? I don't know. I don't know what that. It was not as exciting as I thought it was gonna be.
I held back.
It was amusing. It was amusing and nothing else. All right, we're gonna go one more time, people. This is what happens when you have nothing to do in a jiu-jitsu school except for make up stupid things to do.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. This is our episode of Stupid Jiu-Jitsu Tricks.
Hooray.
Hooray.
I haven't done this in a while.
You're gonna like rip off your finger. It looks like it got caught there.
It's just my wrist.
All right, just your wrist. You don't need that anyway. Oh wait.
Are we doing these now?
We're gonna do our daily workout.
Our prayers to Broden.
Our what?
Prayers to Broden.
I don't know what that means.
No.
I think this tape needs to be fixed though. Oh.
We should do an episode of just us pretending like we know how to do acro yoga.
I don't know what's acro. What is it? Acro yoga?
It's like acrobatic yoga.
I'm neither acrobatic nor.
I know, that's why I think it would have a wide entertainment appeal.
You know, sometimes I think these squats are better for me when I do them really super slow and stretchy.
Is that time when you're starting your workout?
When I need to warm up?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like, I don't need to do them fast. I need to do them super slow and then just stretch.
Or we're just doing 10?
We can do, like 4 sets of 10. I don't know how many I've done there. Let's say 6. I don't know about anybody else, but I definitely feel you do 2 classes before you do this, so this is probably extraneous to you.
I could use some carbs right now.
Stretching, you know, getting up and just doing something is good.
You know how we were talking about goals yesterday?
About what?
Like
Goals. Setting goals, yes.
How do you feel about angst?
What does that mean? Is that as a goal? I don't think angst is a very good goal.
Like angst is an obstacle towards setting goals. Like sometimes I get caught up in the idea that no matter what I do, all of my endeavors will inevitably fall apart as I age, and anything that I do,
it's true.
In the end, will be amount to probably nothing.
Yes, this is true.
So
that's the human condition.
So then, like, how do I get over that feeling and do stuff?
Don't think too much about it. I mean, at the end of it, look, it's hard to not descend into cliches when you talk about these things. Sorry. What?
Is that what I'm doing right now? I'm sorry.
No, it's what I'm about to do, which is to say, you know, life is short, and, you know, you have to find a way to make a meaning or find meaning in your life for the time that you're here. And, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of debate over this, but, you know, making yourself happy is.
Oh, speaking of gratitude, what are you thankful for?
What am I thankful for?
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything. That's a lot to be thankful for.
I'm just thankful to be alive. Oh, I didn't do any sit-ups. Or did I?
We just did.
All right. Those aren't real sit-ups, though. I'm thankful for my health, for my family's health, knock on wood for that, for your health, for the fact that we're still here and we're not out of business.
I'm also thankful for that.
I'm thankful for our students. I'm thankful for jiu-jitsu. I'm thankful for all the blessings. It's easy to look at the things that you don't have, or that you wish that you had, or that you wish you had done or didn't do, or whatever it is. But you're here now on the greatest in the greatest country,
The freest.
the freest free country in the history of the world, which is true, essentially true. Right? We joke about it.
How many squats have you done?
I don't know.
More than 10.
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't been keeping track of you. You've been distracting me with your
Let's do some push-ups.
epistemological and ontological and phenomenological.
Are we pushing up? Pushing up.
No, I'm pushing the earth away. Get away from me, earth. Stop getting near me.
You know what my biggest worry is?
What?
Like, how come when I do push-ups, I can't activate my upper chest? It's really...
I always thought push-ups were more about your back than your chest.
I am trying to activate my back a little bit more. But, anyway. Gratitude's cool. I've been told I should,
What are you happy for, Kevin?
Huh?
What are you happy for?
Happy for.
What are you thankful for?
Thankful for. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is family.
Is what?
Family?
Family, there you go.
I've got...
Not everyone is thankful about their family.
Well,
So it's good that you are thankful.
I mean,
or maybe you're thankful that your family's not so close to you. I don't know.
There's a spectrum of thankfulness, and my family members fall at a varied range of spots on the spectrum.
Depends on which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's true of everyone's family, right?
But my sister's really cool, and she just had healthy twins.
There you go.
And I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but no one's watching.
So we have 70 dedicated subscribers and growing. I think by the end of this month, we could have 72, maybe 73.
Optimistic.
And I will treasure each and every one of you. And
But-
I'm thankful for everyone.
Oh yes, thankful for the people who are listening to this right now.
Or later. Or 10 years from now.
Well, now being as they listen.
Because the internet
what I
is
just said.
forever.
Not necessarily at 5:30, but now as being whenever whoever's listening to this is listening to this. Oh yeah, but they had twins, right? So I'm trying to convince them to let me teach them jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the great experiment of my lifetime. Like, these are the first people I get to start from scratch.
From this total blank slate.
And it's perfect. Oh, we're pushing out. Pushing out. So we'll see how that goes. And like, she lives, my sister lives close, so having them nearby for like Thanksgiving and Christmas is really nice.
That's nice.
Because I'm from Indiana.
And you don't want to go back there for Christmas. California or Thanksgiving is
I mean, I would, but...
better than Indiana for Thanksgiving. Is that what you're trying to say?
Indiana is actually very beautiful in the winter.
I'm sure. Isn't it just white?
For those, like, for the 3 days that you go to visit, because then it's nice, you appreciate how
Yeah, you
not
leave.
cold it is here. And then
Yeah.
maybe see some snow, you know. It's pretty. But then after that 3 days, it's like, oh, it's too cold. And then you start plotting to return to California. But I miss my grandparents,
Oh.
grandmother, and
Now, can
my
you like?
other grandmother.
Are they still alive?
Yes.
And so, can you like FaceTime them or something like that?
And
There you go.
We'll do the FaceTime, but it's just sad because like all these families across America are not able to see their elderly loved ones.
Well,
for
if
the
you think
holidays.
about it, 50 years ago, I guess maybe longer than 50 years ago, you couldn't. I mean, if your family was away, you just would never see them,
Yeah.
right?
But I feel like
Unless they
people
were within
weren't-
horseback distance,
Yeah, people weren't as mobile. Is
and they
that
weren't
the
as
word?
spread out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but meaning. How do you find meaning?
I mean,
Being thankful for things is one way to find meaning, right?
I hate the whole you should like make your own meaning, but like the tools.
It's a cliche.
The tools by which I make my meaning aren't exactly like I didn't make those. You know, it's like I'm just stuck in the values that were given to me or as I picked up as a kid, and
Only to a certain extent.
To a certain extent. I can.
I mean, you're either stuck with them or you're reacting against them.
Well, I'm free to change them as I learn new things, but I still can't change them until I have a reason to. So it's really weird. I don't know. But jiu-jitsu's complicated for me because there are so many different things that you can get out of it, and I think at different parts of or times of my life, I got different things out of jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
So like when I started, it was like a way for me to spend time with family.
Because your sister.
Yeah, and she had been training for a while.
Right. That's a social thing, right? It's a social familial thing.
But it also like, I think it was one of the first endeavors that like I personally, with no real outside influence from like my family members or from people that I looked up to, besides my sister, like the first thing that I wanted to get good at on my own.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of outside the realm of normalcy. But
Your own weird niche.
yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know, just something about the process of jiu-jitsu really appeals to me.
I think something, jiu-jitsu that something that jiu-jitsu does is it allows you to create an identity for yourself. And because it's something that anybody can do, then, everyone can create their own little identity out of it.
But it's like, I don't know. I think the idea of having an identity based on jiu-jitsu is a little dangerous. But I don't know. I feel like it's the same as having your identity revolve around weed or
Well,
trombones or any
I
single.
mean, the thing is that, like, I think everyone's identity, there's certain focus points in people's lives that are common for them to identify from. And one is to be a mother or a father, or some sort of family member, like there's a family thing, I'm a dad, or your job, right? I'm a lawyer, I'm a jiu-jitsu instructor.
I do like jiu-jitsu.
So, and then the other way is like through your hobbies, right? I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman, I'm a jiu-jitsu enthusiast, whatever it is. And some of that overlaps.
It does have nicely defined roles, right? Like, you're very clear about like what your place is in your group. Like, I'm a white belt, and that means something. I'm a blue belt, that has meaning too. And your goal can be to achieve these ranks because.
That's one of the chief things that's
this-
beneficial about the ranks is that it gives you that kind of structure.
And the group has already assigned meanings to those ranks.
Yes, more or
And
less.
it's more or less. So it's kind of like everyone's on the same page, and it gives both you as an individual and the community a mutual goal to work towards. Because both you want to get better as like a single person, but they want a team full of people good at jiu-jitsu. So it's in their interest too to get you good.
Right.
Get you good.
Get you real good.
Real good. But as weird as like jiu-jitsu grows, the meanings of ranks between teams is different. And it can be drastically different. Because you can get a blue belt from one team based on a set of requirements that'll be completely different from another
Well, that's
team.
what I talk about when I talk about goals and purposes. Look, anybody can go and that's the thing about jiu-jitsu that's different than a lot of sports. Not all sports, right? You can play recreational basketball, totally unstructured, and you can get really good at basketball, right? You could have a great jump shot. You can just be really good overall, and you never have to play any organized basketball at all, ever, and you can still be an amazing basketball player. Usually it doesn't work out that way. Usually at some point you do some. And same thing with jiu-jitsu, right? Like you can be just a recreational jiu-jitsu player, and you can get pretty good. There's nothing necessarily stopping you if you want to get good, right? Whereas football at some point, you just can't go find a pickup
Yeah.
full contact football game.
A football academy.
You can find, you can find where, there are rec leagues, but there's not a lot of like skill building in those types of things. Like I was thinking hockey, you can find recreational hockey.
Supposed to pick up.
But football isn't one of those. Tennis, I mean, you can get good at it, but there are no real ranks unless you start competing, right? Like, then they start ranking you. Golf, I guess, they rank you for, there's an amateur, but
They have like amateur leagues for tennis for adults.
for everything. For everything, but like I guess you can get coaching too. It's just not as,
I feel like
it's
tennis
not as
is-
democratized, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're
Well-
not going to go to a tennis academy for adults.
Tennis is so established though, because I've
You're not going to find an adult wrestling program in most places.
correct, but I think you could find an adult tennis program.
Yes.
Because it's such
Well-
it's linked to high culture. I think in America at least.
You can go like golf. I think of
Tennis-
golf as tennis. It is similar.
Yeah, like tennis clubs, right?
You have that, but I don't know that you have like group adult classes.
Not classes.
You can get lessons from a pro.
Yeah.
Right.
And like you go to a tennis club and you do the tennis and then you socialize after.
Yeah, I mean it's similar. It's a similar dynamic, but there's not as much. Well, maybe that's not true. Maybe there probably is a very developed amateur tennis competitive scene.
I think there is.
Probably.
Like people who play squash too.
Well, that's hyper competitive. I don't know anybody who plays squash that isn't like super competitive about it.
Yeah. Takes a certain type. Should I jump?
I don't know how many sets we've done. I think it's more than 4.
It's Thanksgiving, so.
We gotta work that turkey. I'm not having turkey, but. I think the key to meaning is finding ways to make yourself happy without making anybody else miserable in the process or unhappy.
But like,
That's about the best you're gonna get.
how do you do anything that's not gonna make someone somewhere at least mildly inconvenienced?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying mildly inconvenienced. I'm saying like miserable and or unhappy.
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like
not like it's
a diamond
binary
ring
thing.
makes a lot of people happy, but if it's dug out of the ground, and used
Yeah.
to fund a war,
So like, do you
maybe that's not the best thing.
do you subtract that happiness of your fiance from the overall sadness of the people in?
No, I don't think it quite works that
Chopped
way.
off.
What I'm saying is, it's not like a balance or a scale. It's just the happiness. What I'm trying to say is, one way to derive meaning is just that. Do I find some pleasure in this world?
But-
Right? Am I find some happiness in this world?
Do you?
And there's lots of ways to do that, and the key is to find that happiness that in a way that does not harm other people in an appreciable, meaningful way, right? So, I mean, there's all sorts of examples I could use, but I think just not being or trying to find those things, right? Like if you run for a mile, if you feel like running makes you happy, and you go out and you run, okay, that is a good thing, right? Like you're not harming anybody by being out, unless you're infectious with COVID, in which case maybe you're infecting millions of people, or you're a leper or
What
something.
if I have a compulsive exercise disorder and
Does it make you happy?
and
Does it help you deal with your?
my family has been begging me to stop going out running in the middle of the night?
You can always find counterexamples, but I think that general rule
Well,
is not a bad one if you're thinking about it. I mean, other people would say, doing great works, right? Like I want to do my part to help the environment, or help feed the poor, or build houses, or for underprivileged families, or whatever it is. Like you could find meaning doing good works for others, right? Like that's a less selfish way.
is it as long as it's for the greater good, or as long as you have some good in mind, or as long as you're
I think you're
unaware
overthinking it.
of the
You're
badness?
overthinking it. I'm saying there are different ways that people can find meaning in their life. Some people would, but by get happiness and create meaning in their lives by serving other people.
It's a good Christian approach to it.
I mean that's a humanist approach. It could also be Christian, right? But it's I feel good helping other people, making something better than what it would be otherwise if no one did anything.
So it's still like a very egoist approach where like I'm gonna help myself by helping others.
Well, no, but there are
because
people who are more or less selfless. I mean, you wouldn't do it if you felt.
bad about
I mean, some people might do it as a way of penance, or a way of giving back. They feel a sense of guilt because maybe they've done something in their lives that they feel that they need to repent for. I'm using Christian words or religious words, but some people have done bad things or terrible things, and some people have done minorly bad things, and they try to redress their own guilt in a way by helping other people. Now that's another way to go about it, but they're still helping somebody else, right? And so that was just saying, I'm not weighing like the pros and cons of doing all this. I'm just saying these are ways to create meaning in your life.
And by happiness, do you mean the feeling of pleasure, like just raw hedonism, like whatever makes you feel good? Or do you mean like just your happiness as an individual? Do you take into account the happiness of those around you or other people in the world? Like when it
Without
comes
doing harm to others.
But like,
I mean, it's like they're the people who play World of Warcraft or video games, which gives them a great deal of pleasure, right? And doesn't expressly harm anyone else. But they forget to feed their kids for a week because they're playing.
What if
that would be something where you take an otherwise harmless pursuit and it was hurting other people, hurting your own kids because you're ignoring them.
What if it's not the kids involved, but they're just forgetting to feed themselves? Like,
If you're neglecting your children, I would say that.
No. If I'm neglecting myself, is it still okay as long as I'm
not if other people
feeding
depend upon you.
Are there any cases?
So you're always trying to go to the extremes. I'm just trying to make general pronouncements about ways to create meaning.
Yeah,
and
I'm
you're
trying to break the code.
bring them down to some sort of logical absurdity.
We have so many people in the world, so you got to take into account some of the extreme cases, because there are extreme cases in a world with 8 billion people on it.
I mean, some people derive great pleasure out of sponsoring. Their patrons.
Is that like a feeling? They derive pleasure from having a feeling of power over others?
Maybe sometimes, but I think in other cases, it's just some sort of feeling of contribution to maybe a field that they love and they have an interest in, and they want to help.
But again, is that
further? And the way that they do it is they sponsor or give some sort of support to whoever. It could be an artist, it could be a musician, it could be a school, right? I create a school for something. This is a library. Any sort of philanthropy. Some people, they derive pleasure. Maybe they're also paying for past sins in their own mind by, giving back by creating universities or soup kitchens or, name it, scholarships, endowing chairs at universities. This is, people give back. They take, and then maybe at some point in their life they decide to give back, and that's how they create meaning, And I don't think, you can argue about their motivations or whatever, but if that person in their subjective mind is creating some meaning, some people create meaning by accumulating vast sums of wealth, and they just think like this if you're Jeff Bezos and you're worth, I don't know what he's worth, $100 billion, that's how he creates meaning in his life, perhaps. I don't know him, and maybe he doesn't, maybe that's just an accident of what he otherwise loves to do. Maybe he just loves to create giant internet corporations, and as a consequence of that pursuit, he just happens to have $100 billion in his bank accounts. He's created, but somehow he's created, and some people create meaning just from the pure accumulation of wealth. You just want to see more zeros after whatever their net worth happens to be in that moment. That's how, and I'm not passing judgment on that, but that's how they create meaning.
So do you think people should go through a phase where they're like really self-driven and focused on building themselves up kind of by any means necessary so that they one day will have the means to give back to their immediate community?
No, that's kind of perverse, right? I'm gonna extract all this wealth out of the community, and then after I've accumulated what I think is enough for me, then I'll kind of give back a few dribs and drabs.
For the people.
For the peeps, buying the stairway to heaven is what that's called. But I think there's a healthy way to create meaning. There's an unhealthy way to create meaning. People, they have all sorts of things that they're doing in their lives. Some people, they create meaning by being great parents, or a good sister or a good brother, and then they derive some meaning in their lives by being that person, right? Some people want to be teachers. It's usually some sort of service to other people, I think, right?
Yeah, or like a role, a position, a character. They want to, at least for me when I was growing up, I wanted to be a certain type of person when I was an adult.
Some people, in the military, they want to join the military and serve their country and defend freedom and whatever.
Be badass.
Some people join the Peace Corps, and they want to help, poor people around the world in undeveloped countries become, more healthier or more prosperous in general. It's usually some form of service, I think.
Yeah.
And I think even the people who are, you know, the robber barons of our age, right? They're the great industrialists or whatever they are, the great tech barons.
Bootleggers?
I think they would, at least in the beginning, they think they're making the world better through their technical innovations.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
But like, through change, there's always going to be positive
Yes.
changes and negative changes.
we don't know what the true balance is until I think probably long after they're dead. I mean, John Rockefeller, I mean, he did wonderful things for the country. He also did some
Terrible things
terrible
for the
things, you know. So I don't know what the end result is, but.
So complicated.
All right, with these philosophical questions now answered definitively, have a great Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Unless you want to talk about anything else,
No.
no?
I don't have any better ideas.
Intellectual, we'll come up. We're debating natural rights and natural law. Well, that's for next week.
Yeah, as soon as
4 sets next week and natural rights. That's on the menu.
we're getting to the bottom of the Constitution.
Oh, it's going to happen.
We're going to solve it.
A little law and leg locks. All right, see you guys.